Hello and welcome to this week's Daily Express Royal Roundup. We hope you've had a lovely lunchtime. It is Wednesday. If you're watching on catch up, then I hope you're having a great week wherever you are. We have got lots to talk about today. We're talking about Prince Harry. We're talking about the Commonwealth Games. Before that all kicks off, we'll be seeing those photos and stories coming from that. We'll talk about Prince Andrew today and what he'll be up to over the summer. And of course, Prince George with some lovely photos. But of course, if you have got any questions or any comments on any of the stories that we discuss, we are joined by Daily Express's Royal Correspondent Richard, who can answer them for you. They're here. So Richard, lots to talk about this week, but of course we're going to kick off with Prince Harry first. You have probably got the latest on this, so do explain what's been happening there, because he's won an appeal, hasn't he?
Well, he's just won. He's won the right to a judicial review of part of his complaint against the Home Office over the refusal to provide him with the same level of security that he used to have. I've had lots of stick on social media all week because I linked to I don't think it was even a story I wrote. I think it might have been one of our colleagues online who had written really the first story at sort of 10-15 minutes after the announcement. It had gone live on the site, and I'd just linked to it. And people were saying it's not a court victory. It's a victory in the sense that it's one stage in the process, and he's won the right to have part of his case argued at a full judicial review. But the judge did say there were, I think, if I remember rightly, 5 grounds that Harry wanted to argue on, and 4 of the 5, the judge said, yes, okay, parts of your argument here are arguable, and he wasn't even all four of those bits of the argument. It was very, it was very messy. It was on this ground, I think that bit we could have we can have a debate about that in court. Other bits, don't think so. And the judge did make it clear that the fact that he'd said, yeah, this can go to a judicial review, didn't mean necessarily that Harry was going to win. He made a point of saying that, and well, we'll just have to see. I mean, I can recall when Meghan took the Mail on Sunday to court and associated newspapers, we were reporting various stages of the process there, and this, a victory for Meghan here, 2 victories for the Mail on Sunday there, but ultimately, there weren't any real victories for the Mail on Sunday in that case, were there? So we'll only know when it's been heard fully, and when the court has decided ultimately on the main grounds for this.
And will Prince Harry need to be there in person?
I don't think so. I doubt it. I mean, they managed to avoid getting Meghan into court, didn't they? I mean, that was because in the end, the judge dealt with it dealt with it summarily. It didn't need to go, in the court's estimation, it was so cut and dried. It didn't need to go to a full hearing. This is going to a full hearing, but it's a good question, but I'd be very surprised if he came over for this. But I mean, it is a good question, actually.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much. But I mean, these legal costs must be now just like racking up and up and up.
Well, yes, and also the Sussexes tend to use Shillings, the London law firm, to deal with any sort of minor quibble they've got with any press coverage, and it's a very expensive way doing PR, really, because they don't come cheap. Those
No, I can imagine.
lawyers.
I can imagine not. But with the wider royal family, because obviously, the connection, obviously Prince Harry is part of it, even though he has stepped down. Will they be aware of everything that's going on, even though it isn't, entirely separate? Will they be across all of this? I can imagine.
Oh yes, I'm sure they're being kept abreast of it. I mean, the royal household will have somebody keeping looking at press cuttings or whatever, and they'll be advised about it. And they're not completely divorced from reality. They do read newspapers. Thank goodness somebody still does.
Yeah, thank goodness someone keeps us both in a job. But there we are. Okay then. Well, there's only so much we can talk about this, obviously. But we did take this to a poll to see what you thought surrounding this subject. Should Harry get the same level of security as the other royals, even if he offers to pay for it? No, 93%. Yes, 6%. Obviously, that's just public opinion. Everyone's got, freedom of speech there. Yeah.
A few things to say about that, actually. I mean, that on the one hand, he would argue that because he's somebody who served in Afghanistan and he's a high-profile person, that he's at a higher risk. And of course, the fact that Meghan is of mixed race heritage did attract some, far-right fringe people who were threatening them. So they've got sort of on that side of it, they've got an argument to say that they're at some risk, and also, I think former prime ministers, lots of people get protection because of something they once did. I mean, I can remember years and years ago now going for lunch with a High Court judge who was, I can't even remember, it wasn't to do with his legal work, it was to do with something else he was involved in. I think it was a security review. And I can remember, like his protection team were sat in the restaurant with us. And I think, I think that was because he'd been involved in IRA cases at one point. So people do have security for a long time. On the other hand, he's no longer a working member of the royal family. Other members of the royal family who have stepped down or who have never been full-time working members have lost their security. I mean, I think it's true to say that Prince Andrew doesn't have the same level of security now, and his daughters don't, as far as we understand it, have taxpayer-funded security. They do occasionally have bodyguards, but they're privately funded. And I suppose they don't like us talking about all of this, but it does come into the public domain. I mean, there was a case a while ago when I think it was Princess Beatrice, if I remember rightly, was driving a car and just got out of the car and left the keys in the ignition and went off into a shop. And I think just at that point, she wasn't used to being responsible herself for things like that. And I remember having a debate with somebody in the royal household about their security because one of them, can't remember which one now, I think again it was probably Beatrice, was had a bag stolen on a beach once, and the person I was speaking to was saying, look, this shows why they need security. They still need taxpayer funded security to protect them. And my argument at that point was, but all sorts of people get mugged on beaches, all sorts of people get burgled, get things robbed from them, and they can't all have taxpayer funded round-the-clock security with them. So there does come a time when the powers that be have to make a proportionate, informed judgment about what really is the risk, how high is the risk, and thankfully that's not my job to make that assessment. But it seems that the Home Office have taken the specialist committee that advises the Home Office has taken the view that it should be done on a case-by-case basis when it comes to the Sussexes, and that there may be times when they're attending high-profile events that are going to attract fixated individuals and others who might potentially cause them harm, and in those cases that merits them having police security, and in other cases, it's low profile, low risk. And the other aspect to this case, forgive me if we discussed this before, is the question of, well, Harry's saying, well, I'll pay for it myself. And some people have pointed to events that happen where people do pay to hire the police to come to police, say, maybe a country fair where there are going to be 5,000 people there, maybe, and they want a little bit of police presence there, or football matches, football clubs, professional football clubs have to pay for some policing costs. But the argument there is these are specialist Scotland Yard officers, highly trained, who have access to national intelligence, and they're not for sale. And what the Home Office doesn't want to do is open up a Pandora's box where every dodgy businessman coming into Britain from anywhere in the world is able to say, I'd like to pay for some protection, and I demand that you provide it for me, and I'll pay for it.
Yeah, of course. And of course it means as well, of anybody connected to the royal family as well, I can imagine sort of, Prince Andrew, etc. So, not so much a senior royal, not so much seen, getting security there. So it will be interesting seeing how it all plays out.
Just to clarify, where I've mentioned, Andrew's daughters getting some privately paid security, they're not current serving Scotland Yard officers. They are ex-Scotland Yard officers generally. Okay, interesting.
So they'll take X, but obviously fully trained still, and obviously know what they're doing. And of course, Harry would want armed officers as well. Am I correct in thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's argued that his life's in danger here. That, to me, it seems, in spite of what I've said, when you look at the crime statistics in the US and the number of killings there are, number of homicides, absolutely dwarfs the figures in the UK. So to me, it seems a bit ridiculous for him to suggest that he's somehow more at risk here than he is in California. And as far as I'm aware, he doesn't have access to taxpayer-funded security in California and access to intelligence.
No. But I can imagine, obviously, his private residence has got all the round clock security. Am I right in thinking?
Yeah, very much so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, then. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. I'm sure even in the comments now, lots of people have obviously got opinions on this. As we know, Prince Harry and Meghan, since stepping down, have divided people on opinions. So there we go. We'll move on from that now, and we'll speak about the Commonwealth Games. Unfortunately, the Queen will not be there. But Richard, do you think that she'll be making a surprise appearance at all, or is it just completely off the cards?
I have to confess I haven't had a conversation with anybody about this, but I've just assumed that she won't be there. I think the way, well, of course she's up in Balmoral anyway. She's at Balmoral now, so I think I would be astonished if she were there. Interestingly, we should point out it's 10 years ago to the day that the Queen was visited by James Bond, and they then travelled to the Olympic Stadium and parachuted in. One of the great moments of her reign, I would say.
100%.
With Paddington Bear as well, of course, at the Jubilee. And so, it's a bit sad that if she won't be there, which I think is more or less 100% sure. probably going to be proved wrong then on that. But,
you never know. No, yeah. I mean, I'm sure she really does like her downtime at the moment. We've seen her, haven't we? Rest.
Yeah, we can come on to that in a minute, Balmoral. But yeah, I think that more or less rules it out. But yeah, there's a pretty big royal contingent going to be there. We've got the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall, who will be at the opening ceremony, doing various other things. Earl and Countess of Wessex will also be there, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester will be at some events. Princess Anne will be at some events. I think going to the Commonwealth, the Athletes' Village, and seeing some of the rugby sevens. Rugby's her thing, and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will be there on August the 2nd. That will no doubt get a fair bit of publicity.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And did I mention Duke and Duchess of Gloucester? I think I did. So yeah, pretty good selection of people there.
And do they get to choose which events they go to when the royals turn up? Do they kind of say, "Look, we'd love to see you there. Is there any particular event that you want to go to?" Or do they get told, "No, you need to be here at this time"? Is there any kind of personal sway in it?
I think there's always a bit of personal sway, a bit of the host saying, "What would be really great is if you were able to do this," and the member of the royal family saying, "Well, I'd really like to do that," and their advisors saying, "Well, why don't we do a mixture of this and that?" And that's how they sort of work it out. And then, often, I mean, I'm not saying necessarily in this case, but often official royal engagements, certainly abroad, there'll be what the host government wants them to do, what the British government wants them to do. So it's always a bit of a mix on that front.
Juggling plates, but of course it's the summer holidays, isn't it, for the Cambridges now? So I'm guessing then, on that note, there won't be any appearances from the children.
I wouldn't rule it out actually, because they've been going to more and more things. I mean, we've last night it became clear that the Duke of Cambridge would be going once England. The England women's team had qualified for the Euro 22 final at Wembley on Sunday. It became clear that from sources that William was going to be going, but it wasn't officially confirmed. A bit like I was saying about last week about the Earthshot Prize in Boston. It's clear that the intention is for them both to go, but it's not been officially confirmed yet. And I think it's certainly a possibility that William may well take Princess Charlotte, for example, and maybe some of maybe the other children as well. But we're going to have to wait and see that for that. It's not a decision hasn't been made yet on that. But I think Commonwealth Games. I could well imagine the children turning up.
Okay, and we do know that Prince George does like he's got that flair from his parents, hasn't he? A love for sport, it seems.
Very much so. I think they're all quite into their sport. I think Louis. I seem to remember Kate talking about Louis at the at Twickenham when she first became patron of the RFU, talking about how he was. They were worried he would sort of steam. I'm paraphrasing, but he sort of steamroller people. He was a bit of a bruiser. So I thought it's gone a little. Although we've got plenty to talk about, it has gone a little bit quieter in the last few days on the Royal Front. So
with
any involvement of the Cambridges and any involvement of the Cambridges' children would certainly be most welcome from the Royal Correspondent point of view.
And also, we did see last night, Sunday's a big day for the Women's Euros. And I did see that the Cambridges did post. Now, you do say the occasional personal tweet comes out, Richard, but onto their Instagram, which I know you love Instagram, onto their Instagram sort of saying, well done, amazing. On there, and of course that's coming up, and that's I think on Sunday, if I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think it is on Sunday. So, and given that comment, perhaps we'll see. Well, I really hope we'd see Kate there.
Yeah,
What do you
possibly. She's going to be down in Plymouth earlier on in the day, and I haven't looked at the timings, but it might be a little tight for her.
Yeah.
And then you know the dreaded word helicopters comes into
Yes, yeah.
play, and if she flies back, then I suppose she might be able to make it.
Maybe. I mean, that comment though, I did see the comment and I was like, oh, is that obviously the support, or is that sort of an indicator there? Who knows?
Well, again, you know, she's incredibly sporty, and the success of the England team in this competition in getting to the final has, you know, it's marked a sea change in the sport. I mean, you know, women were actually banned from playing football until 1971, having, you know, had taken part in successful teams going back to, I think I'm right in saying, the First World War. And it's been a long fight for women to, you know, raise the public's awareness of their part in this sport. And this is a seminal moment for English football, for English women's football. William's the president of the Football Association, so you know, it would have been extraordinary if he wasn't going to the final, really.
Well, I do hope that he is going to the final.
He is, yeah. I mean, that's been confirmed now. He's definitely going, but it's whether the Duchess and whether the children go is still to be decided.
Yeah. Still to be decided. Well, yes, very exciting time, and it's baffling, isn't it? It's slightly away from royal stuff, but you know, in schools you still don't have, you know, girls can automatically, if they want to play football, that's still not on the curriculum. And some schools they have it, but some schools they don't. But this is an opportunity, hopefully, for the powers that be to see that we do have good talent, no matter the gender, in this country. But that's away from.
Well, I mean, just on that point, I'm probably going to get killed for mentioning this. I won't mention her name, but I've got a relative who plays for Manchester United girls, and you know, she's a fantastic player. And until quite recently, she had her hair cut short. She wanted to look like a boy because she played, you know, she did play a lot with boys. But she's now growing her hair because she's seen all of these professional players, you know, with their long blonde hair tied up. And so she wants to look like them. So, you know, they've been fantastic role models.
I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? And also the fact that you had to sort of like, you know, to blend in, to make yourself feel better, you thought you had to cut your hair short.
Yes, yeah.
Wow, like insane, and that's happening right now. But yeah, I mean, best of luck for Sunday. Fingers crossed. But even it's amazing if you even get this far. So there we go. But we'll go on to a completely different series, which is on the Daily Express if I carry on. So we'll stick to Royal, and we'll see if they go on Sunday. I'm sure it'll be all over the papers if they do. And we're going to move on now to where the Queen is currently at Balmoral. Now, of course, we know that the Queen is very fond of her son, Prince Andrew, but he's rumoured to be spending time there this summer. But William and Charles aren't believed to be, you know, very happy about it. This is all rumours. Is there any truth to this, Richard, or is it all very speculative?
That is all very speculative. I mean, we know that. That Charles, I mean, you know, I think it is fair to say that Charles and William are unhappy at the suggestion that there is any way back into public life for Andrew. But there's, with the Windsors, there's always a dividing line between what's for public consumption and what's private family time. And I'm sure that Andrew will be at Balmoral. He normally goes. The thing is, the family all go up there, but they do tend to stagger it. So normally, actually, Andrew and his ex-wife Fergie are the the first members of the family to go up there.
Even still, Fergie still goes.
Yes, yeah. What used to happen when Prince Philip was alive was that they would go up there. Andrew and Fergie would spend. Well, first of all, the Queen, Queen normally goes up to Balmoral before the castle is actually closed to tourists. So she stays in Craigowran Lodge, normally a house on the estate, for a couple of weeks, and then 4 or 5 days after the castle, the big house is closed to the public, she then moves into the Balmoral Castle. That would usually, from memory, be sort of normally about the 6th or 7th of August, I think. And then, Andrew and Fergie would be the first people up there. And what used to happen when Philip was alive was that he used to be somewhere else and give them a few days. I think normally about, if I remember rightly, about a week. And then he'd come up and Fergie would leave because he couldn't stand being in the same room as her. There were times when she was in the castle, but she couldn't sort of eat in the same room as him. This is according to sources close to the Duchess of York. So
interesting.
So my guess is that Andrew and Fergie will be up there for a couple of weeks, and then Edward and Sophie will go. They're usually up there for quite a long time, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And Anne and her branch of the family are normally up there for a while.
They all kind of take it in turns, do they?
Yeah. Charles and Camilla are likely to be up there for a long time, but of course they're at Burke Hall on the edge of the estate, so not in the main house.
And for people who don't know Balmoral at all, I mean, it kind of give an indicator of how big, how vast this is, and how many sort of different lodges and stuff there are on the estate.
There are quite a large number of properties on the estate, and it covers, from memory, I seem to remember it's about a 50,000 acre estate.
Wow.
So Sandringham's about 21,000 acres. This is a big old property. There's lots of public access to it, actually. I mean, a lot of the land is open to the public. So people will see members of the royal family out for a picnic or whatever. If they're very, very lucky, let's go.
Right place, right time.
Yes, yeah. But it's one of the Queen's happy places, isn't it? It's probably. I mean, Windsor. We always say Windsor's her favourite royal residence, but I mean, I think Sandringham is where she probably is. Sorry, Sandringham is also up there, but I think Balmoral is where she can really relax.
Yeah. Away from the busy craziness. Would they, or each sort of like a household spend a certain amount of times, whilst they're there with the Queen, sort of daily, or do they very much sort of go and do their own thing? And then, do we know anything about sort of like their day to day? Is it sort of like shooting one day, what the next?
Yeah, I haven't spent any time there with them. I've been up there when they've been around.
You've been on the side of picnics, Richard.
So I think they'd probably be in the sights if they were shooting. So, I think exactly right. There's a bit of when the season is open, a bit of shooting, stalking, a bit of socialising with the family. Of course, also the Queen would normally spend a bit of time hosting a couple of foreign visitors, a Commonwealth Governor General, possibly a Commonwealth Prime Minister, and the UK and the British Prime Minister as well would normally go up there round about the time of the Braemar gathering. So, how much we're going to see of the Queen this year is an interesting question. I was debating, I was talking to somebody who knows the estate very well yesterday.
Mm.
And he was saying he really doubted, for example, whether we would see her at the Braemar gathering this year.
Mm.
And will we see her at church? Well, she hasn't really gone to church in public much at all for the last since the pandemic began.
Mm.
So when she was up in Balmoral last year
Mm.
and the year before, if I remember rightly, she didn't go to church on the grounds that, as far as I was aware, there were restrictions on
Yeah.
how many people could be in church and
Mm.
what they could do there. And she took that as a sign that she didn't want to attract a crowd, so she wasn't going to go. I'm
No.
not sure that there's. I'm not quite up to speed on what restrictions are left in Scotland now, but I'm not aware of any. So, but I don't. I'm going to be surprised if she does go to church.
No. And of course, that the health of the Queen is paramount, isn't it? So she'll be
Yes,
being advised, saying, perhaps not, I'm guessing.
yes, yeah.
Okay then. Well, as per, we always run out of time on the Royal Roundup, and we have run out of time. But as you said, it's going to be a bit of a quieter few months with summer holidays and whatnot. But obviously, we've got the Commonwealth Games to talk about and lots more when we get back. Me and Richard are going to be off now for the next week, but we'll be back the week after. You can catch up on all the episodes in the meantime if you so wish. We've got a playlist now on Facebook and various bits on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Royal Reporter on Instagram. He is on there. We're trying to get Richard onto Instagram. So give him a follow. And you can keep up to date as well with what Richard is up to all of next week as well for any bits of royal gossip when the Royal Roundup is not on. So yes, Richard, thank you very much for coming on. And we'll catch you in a couple of weeks.